Welcome to my channel. Don't
Like a
forget to
low-budget,
subscribe,
fan-made
like,
sequel
share.
to a classic
Enjoy my
movie,
video.
Greyhill Incident eagerly incorporates all the worst parts of the genuine article, neglects all of the best parts, and doesn't have much to say of its own. This lifeless horror game is so bare bones it manages to make something as exciting as an alien invasion feel more like a visit from the in-laws, with all the same wasted time and low stakes hiding under beds. With a story and voice performances that are laughably bad,
We need to get out of this cursed place. I hate this neighborhood hole.
stealth gameplay that seems determined to disrespect your time as much as possible, bland environments, and all manner of weird bugs, Greyhill Incident offers very few reasons to play it. Even when it's so bad it comes dangerously close to being hilarious, no amount of chuckling or facepalms can save this dud of a game. Greyhill Incident attempts to tell a classic alien invasion story, putting you in the conspiratorial, government-hating boots of Ryan, a single father who wields a baseball bat and seems to have a serious anger problem.
X, stop barking!
Our emotionally unstable protagonist springs into action when small gray aliens invade his rural town and begin abducting the population. But he does this by roaming around collecting tinfoil as protection and helping his even more paranoid neighbors free themselves from the safes they've locked themselves inside.
Aliens came and I hid in the safe and now I'm locked in here.
Oh, shit.
The story that follows is meandering and utter nonsense, and has you completing an unbroken chain of silly errands around town that have only vague objectives like find Rachel. They offer no waypoints of any kind, leaving you to wander until you find the door key or gas tank you need to progress. There's nothing surprising or funny, just chores. All that drudgery concludes with a complete non-ending just 3 hours later, even though that moment feels like it should be the end of the first act, not the whole story. At least it graciously concludes this misadventure, which paradoxically lasts way too long and is also far too short. The dialogue is, without question, some of the most gobsmackingly painful stuff it has ever been my displeasure to listen to. I simply cannot, under any circumstances, be convinced it was not primarily written and performed by an AI chatbot, and not one of the good ones either.
Stop bothering me.
What's going on with you, Henry? Tell me.
Stilted delivery sounds like it's being read off a cue card by someone sentenced to do so in a bizarre form of court-mandated community service. And the result is woefully cringe-inducing. Don't believe me? Get a load of this.
I know how to shoot because of the Vietnam War, and you can handle the baseball bat.
In fact, the dialogue and the overall janky vibe of Greyhill Incident are so appallingly bad that at times I considered if it might have been intentional, an ironically made horror game intended to amuse. But even if it is, the occasional amusingly awful voice acting or bad joke sandwiched in between much longer stretches of terrible gameplay don't do much to positively impact one's enjoyment, regardless of whether it's viewed as comedy or horror. And even if it were trying to be funny, and at least some of the time I believe it is, the jokes largely fall flat aside from the infrequent, shocked guffaw when something so incredibly stupid happens it becomes impossible not to react. That said, those occasions were legitimately some of Greyhill Incident's best moments, even if they don't come close to being worth the squeeze. The real tragedy of Greyhill Incident is in what it asks you to do. Walk around extremely slowly and hide from unintimidating gray aliens armed with toy guns for its entire duration, like this. This is a stealth game seemingly determined to prove that stealth mechanics aren't fun, with some of the most unconscionable design decisions I've seen in a long time. Chief among those failures is how slow you move while crouching or walking, which draws even the smallest tasks out for far too long. Crouching is necessary to avoid the attention of the aliens that move to abduct you on sight, but even if you could get away with sprinting through each area, you still have a stamina meter that takes absolute eons to restore itself, evidently meant to serve as a punishment for those who fail at stealth. The actual stealth mechanics meant to aid you in not getting groped to death are almost non-existent. You can hide in trash cans and cars in the world, and that's literally the end of the list. Hiding is, as is often the case in stealth games, not particularly fun on its own, and you should expect to spend interminable minutes on end, doing literally nothing other than peering out of an outhouse as you wait for your slow-moving pursuers to pass by. Crouching in bushes or taking to the cover of dark does nothing to conceal you. Aliens see right through it. Maybe they have supervision, but Greyhill Incident doesn't grasp that easy opportunity to ride out its failures. You don't have any bricks or bottles to throw or any other ways to distract the enemy. In fact, there are no ways to spice up stealth even a little. You just keep your distance, crouch, and don't turn on your very loud hand-cranked flashlight. That's all there is to it, and it's exactly as dull as it sounds. Let's talk about the aliens that hunt you, because they are perhaps the least interesting horror monsters ever created. They're small, gray, dim, and make cartoon noises, as if to accentuate their non-threatening nature. Like this. Don't get me wrong, they can kill you. In fact, they got me good a fair number of times during my playthrough. When they see you, they speed walk toward you and grab you, giving you just a few seconds to break free before the screen fades to black and you're informed you've been abducted. It's just that none of that is scary, only aggravating. They look silly, can be easily fought off and escaped, and they curl up on the ground like complete wussies when you smack them with a baseball bat. Not that I would do much better after being smacked with a baseball bat, but I am a mere human who is not trying to terrorize anyone. If I were actively trying to make inoffensive enemies that scared absolutely no one, I'd be hard-pressed to come up with something that tops these sorry goobers. The aliens become even more laughable once you realize just how easy it is to just straight up kill them. You won't find much ammo for your revolver in Greyhill, which might be one of the most unrealistic parts of the setting since it's supposed to be a rural American town rife with Old Glory and tractors, but that's okay because you only need 2 bullets to kill any alien that's bothering you. If you're out of ammo though, swatting enemies with your baseball bat stuns them long enough to give you a chance to escape, and doing so enough times kills them. It's still usually less trouble to sneak past them, but armed with the knowledge that they're basically just stubby gray losers makes the whole experience even more low stakes. Finally, there's the bugs, and boy oh boy does Greyhill Incident have some doozies. First, there's performance issues, which to be fair weren't all that common, but when they did hit were really bad. One time the frame rate fell to unendurable levels until I quit and relaunched. Sometimes parts of objects in the world just disappear, like one area where the top of a fireplace popped out of existence to create the appearance of a homemade people smoker. The biggest one, though, is that voice lines constantly overlap. In fact, I feel like my character had more instances where he'd talk over his own dialogue than times where he didn't. Like this.
Someone in the shed? Speaker! Find something to break this door. The hell?
Listening to one line of terrible dialogue is bad enough as it is, but 2 terrible lines of dialogue at the same time is where I draw the line, good sir. Greyhill Incident is a fitting name for this awful horror game, because that's how I'll refer to the traumatic time I spent playing it. The fact that it so wholly mangles so many of the things it tries to pull off, from its story to its stealth, certainly feels like a conspiracy, and one the government probably should have done a better job covering up. I still can't decide if the idea was to be ironic or scary, but Greyhill Incident fails in either scenario, resulting in a tedious but mercifully short jaunt through cornfields and backwater abodes that's about as fun as actually being probed by aliens. For more, check out our reviews of Amnesia the Bunker and the System Shock remake. And for everything else, stick with